All right, so we've got the video rolling and we've got the audio rolling. This is the first video edition of the Randumbness Podcast. So, welcome to all you dummies out there that have been listening to me, Kevin Wyer, on Randumbness. So, what I would like to do today is I'm going to try something new since they have the video capability now. And what I'm going to be doing is a top 5 show. So, what that means is I'm going to go through a list of certain things and give my personal top 5. And it's probably not going to be anybody else's top 5, but it's definitely going to be mine. So, might be a short video, might be a long video. Have no idea. This is really just testing this out. And it's been a while since I put out a podcast, and I'm wanting to do some video, so this is the first video podcast. So without further ado, see if I get this right. Yay! Top 5 movies. For those of you that are only listening to this on audio, you cannot see the impressive graphics that I have on my YouTube video. So if you would like to see that, please look up me, look up the Randumbness Podcast on YouTube, and I will try to put a link out there on the social media platforms so you know where things are. So, God, I gotta stop smacking my lips like that. So, the first top 5 will be my top 5 movies. Now, I have not thought about this. I just came up with this concept and put these things on here. So, I don't watch a lot of movies really right now, but I can give you some of my favorite movies that I have seen in the past. So I guess I should have probably written this down to get them in the right order. But let's go backwards, I think. So let's say a number 5 all-time favorite movie of mine. I'm going to go with this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So I definitely should have wrote this down. Okay. I really like dumb movies. So Airplane is probably going to be on that top 5 for sure. Hilarious movie. Anybody that enjoys just ridiculous comedy. Leslie Nielsen was fantastic in it. That's my kind of comedy. Those kind of movies with just the most ridiculous things. So like Airplane, things that didn't make the top 5 that would be in that list would be like Naked Gun, Hot Shots, movies like that. So top 4 now. I guess we're gonna move on to 4 is going to be Blazing Saddles. Again, you can't go wrong with a comedy. Blazing Saddles is a movie that probably would never get played today in today's climate. A lot of racial things in that movie that probably wouldn't go over well today. However, I enjoyed the movie immensely. Number 3 is going to be staying in the comedy realm again. I watch this movie anytime it comes on TV, even if it's halfway through. Is My Cousin Vinny. It's a classic movie. Joe Pesci plays a lawyer that's kind of out of his league a little bit, but obviously comes around at the end. Ralph Macchio is in it. Marissa Tomei. So just a hilarious movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I quote that movie all the time. Number 2 movie. The original Ace Ventura. I've probably seen that movie more than any other movie. Just for the fact that I used to, straight out of high school, I worked as a TV and VCR repair man boy, and I used that. I worked at a video store. The video store was above us, so we had and I also repaired damaged VCR tapes. Kids, that's an actual no. So I had repaired an Ace Ventura tape, and I used it as my tester when I would work on VCRs. And so I probably watched that movie on a continuous loop for 3 years, maybe. So I would have that movie memorized. I would be working, it would be playing. I would just recite the movie, over and over again in my head. I didn't have to watch it. I basically just had it in my head. Jim Carrey was fantastic. It made me laugh harder than anything up to that point. So, Ace Ventura, original Ace Ventura, definitely top. My all-time favorite movie is not a comedy. However, there's some funny points in it. And that's basically Benicio del Toro's character in it, which usually is not a funny person, but he just was funny in this. But The Usual Suspects. And for those of you who know Usual Suspects, is the story of a spook, I guess, someone that is a notorious bad guy, legendary bad guy named Kaiser Soze, and Gabriel Byrne is in it, and Benicio del Toro, and Kevin Spacey, and it's loaded, loaded with actors. But one of the biggest twists at the ending of any movie that I've seen to date, and I still love it, and I will watch it. I will watch it right now. I own a DVD of it. I believe I own the VHS copy of it. But yeah, so that is my top 5 of movies. This is going smashingly. So next on the list will be top 5 TV shows. I watch a lot of TV, way more than I do movies. I feel that a good quality TV show is so much more engaging, and you get more invested in the characters in a series. So in a movie it's hard to do in 2 hours or less. To just be like, okay, well, it's over. You don't have time to really care about if someone gets killed or what happens to them in the show. Who cares? But in a good quality TV show, man, it's a gut wrenching sometimes when you lose a character. So top 5 TV shows of all time is going to be really hard. So what I'll probably do is my most current TV shows that I'm watching right now. But I have loved numerous TV shows in the past. So just some of my top past TV shows, probably one of my favorites is Three's Company. That show made me laugh so hard. God, I watched, there was a show, and a lot of people don't know it, and the guy's name's slipping me right now, but he played Max Headroom, and he played a doctor on a show called Doctor, and I used to, when I was younger, I thought that was the funniest show that I'd ever seen in my life, and I can't find it. It's not on DVD. I can't even illegally stream it. It's just not out there. If anyone knows that show, hit me up on this. Let me a comment down below on the YouTube, or hit me up on social media and let me know if you had heard of this show before, and if you know where there's a copy of the show, I would love to see it. Probably, maybe it doesn't hold up now. I mean, we're talking, it's got to be a good 35 years ago. But I always thought it was a great show. So, but top 5 that I'm watching right now, that's a tough one too. So I will say of the most recent shows that I've watched, number 5 would be The Last Ship. It's a post-apocalyptic type show. Navy ship is out to sea when the virus hits, so most of the world is getting wiped out, and they're the last ones to know about it. They've been on a training mission. They've been on no comms for a month or 3 months or something. So then they're tasked with finding a cure and bringing it back. It's a fantastic show. You get to see how the Navy works. You get to see, if you're into the post-apocalyptic type shows, then it's perfect. So you get The Last Ship. I currently am watching Blind Spot, which is a really good show. It's an FBI based show, and I'm horrible with names. I'll give you that right now. I'm horrible with names. But the actor on it was on another show called Strike Back on Showtime or Cinemax One, and can't think of his name. Anyway, and Jamie Alexander is the woman on the show, where she is found in the middle of Times Square in a duffel bag. She's naked. She's covered with tattoos with the FBI agent name on her back. So they follow the clues on her body to solve, random things. So yeah, Blind Spot is a great show that I watch. Another one would be, number 3 top show right now, The Punisher. Punisher on Netflix, which now Netflix is canceling all the Marvels. It's not going to be back there. Hopefully it gets picked up somewhere else. Maybe it'll be on the Disney Plus streaming app. Don't know. But The Punisher was the best of the Marvel shows. I did watch all of them. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I did like them all, but I think Punisher was the best out of all of them. So that'll be number 3. Number 2 is going to be Walking Dead. I love the graphic novel series. I've really enjoyed the show. I actually like the spinoff as well. I was a little weary of it at the beginning, but that's a show you definitely get invested in the characters. So, and I like zombies and post-apocalyptic anything really. So, and then number 1, Game of Thrones. For me, it's the best show. Oh, you know what? I got to throw Breaking Bad in there. So that's going to shift that down. Breaking Bad, number 2. So that's going to shift that down. I forgot about that show. But Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, 2 of my favorite shows ever. Can't wait for the Breaking Bad movie. And this next season of Game of Thrones is going to be epic. And I really hate to see it go, but I do hope that they do a spinoff somewhere. But Game of Thrones, definitely number 1. Trying to keep this short. I'm not going to describe all these shows. If you don't know what they are, go look at them. All right, so next we have top 5 books. This should be difficult because I'm not an avid reader. I hated reading when I was in school, and I don't have enough time to read right now. I do actually like reading now. I listened to a lot of books on tape or on CD, on Audible, and while I was driving, when I used to drive to work, an hour each way every day. So I did get a lot of books in that way. But actually reading some, it's really hard. So I'm not well read. I don't particularly like a lot of classic books. I do like the horror genre, and I do like some biographies. So I'm going to start with that. Number 5 was the biography of Mick Foley. The book name is escaping me right now, but I thought it was it was really funny. It was nice. I was a big wrestling fan at the time when I read it. Got to see and listen or read about a lot of behind the scenes things in the wrestling world, and so I really enjoyed that book. Number 4, I'm going to say it was a series of books by Ted Decker, and it was, I don't remember the order, but it was like Black, White, and Red were the 3. I think Black was first, then White, and then Red. Very interesting to me. The main character led basically 2 different lives when he when he would go to sleep in this world, he would wake up in another completely different world and had a whole life there. And the time differences were crazy, because sometimes he would be awake in that world for a year, and then when he would wake up in this world after being asleep for only 8 hours, he's only 8 hours older, where he's a year older in the other. So every time he would fall asleep and stay asleep longer, he would age in the other one. So he was older. He was getting older in this other world and living a whole life and everything, while he was just sleeping one night in this one. It was a nice fantasy book, and had a lot of really interesting concepts in it, and I recommend that 3-book series to anyone, really. The next 3 books, I would say that, man, it's going to be tough to narrow that book to a book, but I would say I'm going to name this as it's got to be a Stephen King. It might be Under the Dome. A lot of people didn't like that, but I really enjoyed that concept. Some people say it's a ripoff of the Simpsons movie, but I think he had that out probably first, or at least had the idea. I really liked, I like that concept of trapping people and seeing where they are. He did a couple of those things, like with the mist and things like that. But I like that, to see how people react when they're put in those situations. It's usually not the situation that's the worst; it's the people that are involved in it. And I enjoyed the TV show as well, because it was filmed in Southport, North Carolina, which is where I grew up. So it was nice to see all the recognizable things. The second in the book, second top book, is going to be a series, and it's going to be another Stephen King, which is the Dark Tower series. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Stephen King, a lot of his books, are connected somehow, and they're all part of that Dark Tower story. So you kind of need to. You don't have to read all the Stephen King books, but it's nice to know which ones are involved and how they play into the other stories. So, and the Dark Tower was just an epic journey to go on. Roland Deschaines, probably one of the best characters that I've read ever. So that would be the number 2 as a series. The number 1 book series that I've read, and I've read multiple times, I'm currently rereading it, is the Necroscope series by Brian Lumley. And if you are a fan of the vampire genre and fantasy, highly recommend this book. A series of books, and there's a lot. I think there's 13 or 14 in the series. The first 3, the first trilogy, gives a decent backstory and introduces a lot of the characters. Harry Keogh is the main character, and he's a necroscope, which means he can talk to the dead. And the main, I guess, villain in that original book, Boris Dragasani, is a necromancer and he's recruited by the Russians. Harry is working with Britain and England, and Dragasani is a necromancer, which means that he tortures the dead. He will, cut them open and feel their guts and smell and taste their brains, whatever, to get information from them and torture them. Didn't mean to hit the mic there. That leads into a lot of different things with the different branches of the government and their special operatives. It's espionage, like espionage, but it's ESP, people with special talents where they can read minds, or they can see in the future sometimes, or the past, whatever. Everybody has a special talent, and they team up with Harry to go against the vampires that are coming around, and that just starts evolving into through the second book where they're fighting a more evil vampire, and you get a lot of good dialogue with these older vampires that have been banished to the earth. They're not dead necessarily, but they've been chained and staked down, and some really good dialogue between the old vampires and people trying to become vampires, and Harry that's talking to them. Third book goes into the source. That's the name of the book, and that's the source of. It describes a source of where all the vampires come from. Now, it's completely different than any other vampire story, and you're mostly, at least in American, literature. There's something romantic about vampires. They're always good looking, and they always, they're dressed, their hair's slicked back, and they have black hair, and they're nice and pretty, whatever. If it's Twilight, they're sparkling. Not these vampires. These vampires are nasty. They are. Some of them are giants, and they morph, and they wear these huge war gauntlets with spikes and knives and barbs on them, and they use those in war against the people of their land where they come from. And I'm not trying to give too much away from it, because I recommend that you read the books if you are interested in necroscope or interested in vampires at all. It's a totally original vampire story. I wish they would. I wish like Netflix or HBO or somebody would get a hold of this and do it justice in a full series. It is an adult based series of books, but I think some of the visuals would be fantastic, and the story is great. And I'm reading it. It's probably my fourth time. Yeah, I'm on the source right now. Then after the source, there's two more in that series, and it leads into the Vampire World series, and there's 3 books in that. Those 3 books are my favorite books I've ever read, and I'm really excited about getting back to them. So, definitely Necroscope series is my top. So, let's move on, and we'll get top 5 rappers. Touchy subject for somebody. I am an old school hip hop guy. I grew up in the South. I grew up in North Carolina, and my first ever album that I bought with my own money was Fat Boys, and then Run DMC. So, and ever since I've been hooked. Still to this day, I primarily listen to rap music. I do. I have expanded my listening. I do listen to most genres of music right now, and I don't have one that I like more than the other. I currently do not like the state of rap music right now. I do listen to a lot of rock. Not a big country fan, but I like some songs. If a song's good, I like it. That's me. I'm not super fanning out on anybody really. But top 5 rappers for me may be different from everybody else, especially today's rappers with all the mumble rap and Lil Pump and Tekashi 6ix9ine and Blueface and all this. I don't enjoy those at all. I grew up in older hip hop, more lyrical. It wasn't always about guns and drugs and everything like that. I enjoyed, it was party music. So, quick story, when I moved to Ripley, where I'm at now, Ripley, West Virginia, was a big culture shock from living at the beach in North Carolina. And not very diverse when I moved here. Predominantly white. When I say predominantly, I mean everybody was white. And rap music really hadn't, come into this area yet. And we're talking, I moved to this area in 1986. Yeah, so rap music was not filtered into this country area. So I had a large collection by that time of cassette tapes of rap music. So I was introducing it to people that, were interested. And I actually set up a little business where I would, had a high-speed dub machine, at the house, and bought a bunch of like Maxell cassettes and dubbed a bunch of stuff, and I had a whole list, and people would buy them for like $5, and back to school, whip out the case, and sold some tapes. That was probably my first endeavor into business. And nope, that's a lie. I sold blow pops on the playground at North Carolina. Bought them for 10 cents a piece, sold them for 25 at lunch. Anyway, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, top 5 rappers. So, for me, I like more lyrical rappers, rappers that have fun. You're going to be surprised if you like rap music at all. Biggie and Pac, not in my top 5. Sorry. I like both of them. I believe that they were very influential on the genre. It's just, for me personally, they just weren't what I was listening to. Like I said, I'm more old school type of rap. So, but even that being said, there's a new school kind of rapper in my top 5. So, we'll start with number 5, and this is one of the guys that were coming up that was doing the most lyrically, and that's Big Daddy Kane. He was intricate in his rhymes, and his voice was unique, and he was just super clean, and I like that. And he was doing things other people weren't doing. So Big Daddy Kane is there, number 5. Number 4, I'm going to say it's the new school guy that I was just talking about is J. Cole, and J. Cole was just a phenomenal rapper. He doesn't, he's not as flamboyant, and he's not out there just talking about, all the guns and cars and all that stuff he's got. He's just, he's putting out truth, and his stuff before he was signed, his mixtapes he was doing, The Come Up and Friday Night Lights, and those by far are some of my favorite things. I still listen to them today. So you got that. You got J. Cole. You've got now. This might be surprising to some people, but Will Smith as Fresh Prince. I listen to so much of him, and I think he's underrated as far as rap goes. He was fun. Jazzy Jeff was phenomenal. Still is a phenomenal DJ. But you could always jam out to Fresh Prince, and he was kind of dumb. He was ridiculous. And at the time, that's how I was. I was exactly. I tried to do all the dances, and I tried to do all that stuff that he was doing, and trying to laugh and be fun and have fun. So I really enjoyed it. I went back just recently and listened to some older Will Smith, and I thought it was great. Number 2 rapper for me, Eminem, and some people are gonna be surprised he's not number 1, because I think he's probably the best rapper ever to live. It has nothing to do with, hey, we're both white. I don't care. Lyrically, nobody touches him. His use of, oh my gosh, it's just the double meaning, and his punchlines, and the way he constructs a rhyme where sometimes the entire song rhymes, and it sounds crazy, but if you really pay attention and listen, and sometimes it takes watch a lyric video and like try to bring it out and like watch other people react to them, you'll learn a lot that I'll go back and listen to a 10-year-old Eminem song and be like, I just now caught that, and I listen. I catch pretty much all the bars that everything he does. I usually catch it, but sometimes I'm just like, that slipped right past me. And he's still doing it. He's still one of the top guys. caught a lot of flack for one of his recent albums, Revival. I loved Revival. I don't know. Eminem was number 2, and my number 1 all time favorite rapper is Rakim, and he was Eric B. and Rakim when I listened to him, and I was just in awe when I heard Follow the Leader and that whole album. I was like, this changed everything for me. I thought that nothing else is going to ever beat this, and Microphone Fiend and Lyrics of Fury, those songs I still are some of my favorite rap songs today. And a lot of people don't even know what they are. It's great. So anyway, that's the top 5 of those. And we will move on to the last top 5, which is my top 5 podcasts to listen to. Obviously, this is number 1. Podcasting has been big over the last couple of years for me. It's pretty much a lot of what I listen to when I'm driving now, or when I'm working on something. So for me, I listen to a lot of the same comedy style podcasts, just because I think you need to laugh during the day. And so for me, I listen to, I'm going to go with Fighter and the Kid with Brian Callen and Brandon Schaub, which is hilarious podcast to listen to those. They have great guests. Next on that list is going to be, right now, I like the Ron Burgundy podcast. It's new. It's only got a couple episodes, but I'm a huge Anchorman fan and Will Ferrell fan, so I'm really enjoying that podcast right now. Number 3 podcast is King and the Sting, and that is with Theo Von and Brandon Schaub. It's a newer podcast as well, but it's their video podcast. It's better to watch because they do a lot of visuals. They do a lot of video. They do a lot of pictures that they talk about. So it's really good to watch that one like on YouTube. So number 2 podcast for me is Joe Rogan. Would have probably been number 1 a couple years ago, but he's kind of all over the place for me right now. I think Joe's brilliant. I think he has great guests. So some of my favorite podcast episodes are definitely Joe Rogan. If you don't watch Joe Rogan podcast, just skim through them and look. There's going to be somebody on there you like. There's a lot of topics that you may not know of, but listen to them because I've learned a lot from listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Some people are going to hate on that, but whatever. Number 1 podcast for me right now is This Past Weekend with Theo Von. Currently my favorite comedian. Actually just went and saw him. If you listen to podcasts, last podcast, you probably know that. And phenomenal. I think he's great. He's hilarious. He's dumb. I mean, there's a theme into this podcast. I like dumb things. But he's not dumb. I mean, he's very smart, and he has that act where he's dumb. He says dumb things, he says crazy things, and he's got some good guests on there, and he's very compassionate on his podcast and open about his life, and he helps out other people that call in. He's got a good following. I just think it's a great podcast, and he actually inspired me to do my own podcast. So yeah, that is my top 5 movies, TV shows, books, rappers, podcasts. I could probably do more top 5 things, but how long can these podcasts be anyway? So I know this is kind of all over the place. I'm really just learning how to do this podcast thing, and I hope everybody listens. Hope you like it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the video, and hit your little notification button so you know when the new videos come out. And if you're just listening to this on audio, that's good too. Listen to when you drive. We're on, every podcasting platform there is. If you would like to support the podcast, you can do so through the Anchor app. I may try to set up a Patreon or some type of thing like that, and put out some extra videos. Stay tuned on this channel because we will. I say we, me and some buddies of mine will be putting out some video content. Hopefully hopefully soon. Definitely within this year, we got to get together, and we've got some you know ideas that we're gonna kick around and try to get accomplished. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And you know, just appreciate everybody that's given me good feedback on the podcast, and just share it, tell your friends about it. Uh, give me the feedback. I don't get a lot of uh, you know real feedback about the show. Like, hey, I had a couple people tell me that hey, the audio was messed up on that one, or that one sounded great. Whatever. But the more input I get, the better that these shows are going to get, and the better I get at editing and filming and lighting and getting the shine off the top of my head. Wow, that is really going bald up there. Oh, anyway. So, appreciate you guys, and I will see you later.